Okay, good evening, everybody. Well, Ken wants no encomium. So tonight, to echo Shakespeare's Mark Antony, I have not come to praise Ken, but it is my distinct honor that I have come to recite the genealogy of Ken Harrow's works. Kenneth Harrow's specializations include African and world cinemas, African literature, feminism, and post-colonial studies. Ken had the opportunity of teaching as a Fulbright person at the University of Yaoundé, Cameroon in 1977, from 1977 to 79, and at the Department of English, Cheikh Anta Diop University in Dakar, Senegal, from 2005 to 2006. He was the director of the graduate program in comparative literature at Michigan State University, a distinguished professor and faculty excellence advocate at Michigan State. Professor Harrow served as the African film editor for African Studies Review, the general editor of African Humanities and Art Series of Michigan University Press, and the editorial board member of Research in African Literature. He was a member, vice president, and president of the Executive Council of the African Literature Association, 1981 to 1989. He convened several conferences at Michigan State, notably the 1986 and 1997 African Literature Association conferences. Professor Harrow also inaugurated the first African Film Caucus of the African Literature Association. Over the years, he helped to bring many African filmmakers to the United States to screen and promote their art, including Jean-Pierre Bekolo, John Akonfra, Jubril Diop Bambeti, Shishi Dangaremba, Hele Garima, and many other black filmmakers. He was a member of the executive board of the African Studies Association from 1997 to 2000. He worked outside academia as a member of the United States Coordinating Committee of Amnesty International for Central Africa, where he was a coordinator for Burundi, Rwanda, and Congo DRC. His publications include edited volumes on Islam and African literature, feminism, and women in African literature. Over 80 journal articles and book chapters. His single-authored books include Threshold of Change in African Literature, The Emergence of a Tradition, 1994, Less Than One and Double, A Feminist Reading of African Women's Writing, 2002, Postcolonial African Cinema from Political Engagement to Postmodernism, 2007, Trash, African Cinema from Below, 2013, Space and Time in African Cinema and Signscapes, 2022, and more recently, African Cinema in a Global Age, 2023. Ken has received various honors and recognitions, most notably the Distinguished Member Award of the African Literature Association, 2009, the Paul Berg Alumni Award of Michigan State, Distinguished Faculty Award, and the Distinguished Africanist Award of the University of Texas at Austin, and the African Studies Association Public Service Award. So I'd like to measure the impact of Ken's contribution to African studies from a personal perspective. Because of my research into the production of Heinemann's African Writer series, I have come to develop a very deep and special appreciation for Ken's prolific reviews as a publisher's reader. And I actually do rate his more silent work as a reader for many of our colleagues among his highest contributions. I was not surprised that almost everyone who spoke at the Thursday dinner that we had a few days ago, who was neither a student nor worked directly with him, referenced the feedback they got from Ken on their manuscripts. Ken hardly ever declines a request for review or comments. His thorough, painstaking, and informed commentaries were always constructive. While I was a student, he was either reading manuscripts as an external examiner or for publication at any given time. He has contributed immensely to African studies and elevated its discourses through this essential but less noticeable service of the review process. The quality of knowledge production in African studies depends on these less visible duties and responsibilities of objective feedback, which constituted Harrow's passion and discipline both as a reviewer behind the scenes and at conferences and seminars where he was a constant presence. Since the publication of Threshold of Change in African Literature, fewer scholars have advanced and sharpened the theoretical edges and possibilities of African literature and cultural studies than Ken Harrow. His recent publications explore the intersections of quantum physics and the literary and cinematic imagination. The rigor of his approach and engagement has permanently, in my opinion, altered the way we study African literature and cinema. As I have noted elsewhere, the word rigor aptly captures Ken Harrow's career and scholarship. It takes a truly exceptional scholar to turn the subject of material trash into a philosophical discussion of the abject. The lasting impact of Ken Harrow's work in African studies will be to demonstrate that there is no language of an insider that anyone else cannot master. This act of breaking down walls of exclusion derives from his pedagogical style that constantly seeks to offer alternative ways of thinking, to use his phrases, the flip side. He always asked us, what if we flipped that around? He taught us that the essence of thought must always entertain alternative ways of thinking. He is a scholar marked by an almost complete absence of ego. He is one of the most personable scholars that I know. Mantia Jawara once told me he does not know where Ken gets the energy to do all the many things that he does. I have wondered what Liz Harrow has got to do with that. To have someone who has read everything you ever wrote for a wife, to have an architect as an in-house editor must be a great inspiration for writing. I guess I must be remiss if I did not thank you, Liz, for all you did for many of us who came through Michigan State. Thank you. And now, with warm applause, please let us congratulate Ken Harrow. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I don't know about coming down, though.
Thank you so much, Bodhi, for those wonderful remarks. Thank you, Alex, for organizing this. I thank the president and the committee for paying attention to me. It's very kind to give the award. And a special pleasure in the award to have Richard Joseph come together with me on this occasion and bring us together is really quite wonderful. So I can't see a damn thing, but I know all my friends are out there. Yeah? And so I'm speaking to you as friends, and you know, many of you know me because I've been part of ASA for more than 40 years. I have a few remarks, and really what I want to read at the very end I care a lot about. You could sleep for a couple minutes, but at the end you got to wake up because that's the part that matters. Events that we identify as African are marked by space, time, and objects such that they share qualities, also being different, as are the events that generated them. Africa is not a country. African history is not a singular event. African time is not coming late to dinner. Its time is an event framed in African elements, where the nature of the event is determined by and aesthetically shaped into the ways that African interactions occur. What emerges from such events and interactions, I like to call entr'acte, entr'acte. And what emerges from entr'acte is time. That's my topic, time. Physics tells us that time and space emerged from physical interactions that occurred with the Big Bang. Isn't that crazy? But they weren't there before, space and time. They emerged with the Big Bang. I think of time as emerging from events, entr'acte. I think of time more as an aspect of objects that become noticeable to us as we move with them. In African studies, we pay a lot of attention to memory and the past, as in Ampateba now cliched comment that with the passing of each elder, a library is lost. But I want time to exceed the memory of words, to be part of our joint worlds, joint intersections, interactions, entr'acte of life and of being together. As I've now reached my 8th decade, I can take this moment to reflect on time, time past, time lost, temps perdu. Why should I care? Why should one care about these reflections on my earlier work on post-colonial theory, on feminism, Islam, trash, on Zizek, Mudimbe, Derrida, Baba, Spivak, Irigaray, on the women authors, and then the women filmmakers, on all those African authors and filmmakers, on Bekolo and Tenno and Semben, and now Rosine Mbakam, working with Carmela Garetano to bring out the companion in African cinema, with Vladima on panels and books highlighting quantum and relativity in our work, and now most recently, a fascination with time linking me to the work of Timothy Morton, thanks to suggestions by Kajetan Iheka and Carmela Garetano. None of the work ultimately matters if written for myself alone. All of it matters when shared with students, with grad students in their scholarship, and with you, my colleagues and friends at conferences and publications. My work always was accompanied by Olabode Ibironke, along with Carmela Garetano, with Emily Juf and Connor Ryan and Kajetan Iheka, with Bob Cancel, my compadre, and Bodhi gave away the secret, but Liz walked with me at each step. This award and this reception should be seen as a way for my wife Liz and myself to thank you. You here now you got to wake up and listen. And you who were here before, whom I can remember, without whom all my time would have been homogeneous and empty instead of glowing and full. Jerejef means thank you. Nyokobok means we did it together. Jerejef les amis. Jerejef, Steve Arnold, the old ALA griot. Jerejef Dick Bjornson, who cleared the way. Jerejef, Louis Tremaine, Mimi Mortimer, Tom Hale, Richard Priebe, Clarice Zimra, Carol Boyce Davies, Edris Macquard, Lem Johnson, Ben Linfords, Dennis Brutus, Abiole Rele, Teju Olaniyan, Pius Adesanmi, Jerejef, Charlie Sugnet, les amis qui sont partis, the friends who are gone. Jerejef, Bob Cancel, Moradewin Adejumobi, Akin Adesokan, Kian Tomaselli, Toyin Falola, Jerejef BJ, Frida Akoto, Jonathan Haynes, Maureen Eke, Emmanuel Yiwa, Aliko Songolo, Odile Kaznav, Eileen Julian. Jerejef, finally, to the ASA for housing us for these 50 years. Thank you.
Amazing. Jerejef, Professor Harrow, and Jerejef, Professor Joseph. Thank you. And Jerejef, Madam Harrow. Miss Liz. Yes, please. And Jerejef Bode. Asheo.